Hey everyone, welcome to today's event with the entry level. We have Anne here with us today to talk all about product management. Before we jump into the AMA and ask a lot of questions to Anne, I'm just gonna go through a few slides to begin with. So, what is entry level? Just a brief background on entry level before we begin. Entry level is a learning platform where we help you learn and get experience so you can get hired. We have a bunch of different programs on offer, from product management to financial analyst to digital marketing, UX design, and even VC analyst. What makes us stand out is that during our courses, you get to create a portfolio of work in 6 weeks, which you can use to show as work experience and show to future and potential employers that you know how to do a particular job. To kickstart, let's do a small icebreaker and hear from everybody. So open up your chat and write down which city or country you're joining us from, so we can just get a sense of. I hope you can hear me now. Yeah, I think the others can hear me. Cool. Yeah, so where's everyone joining from? Which city you're from? Just to say where everyone's from. All right. I guess people message where they're joining us from, so let's just keep on going. My name is Ayush. I am the learning designer at EntryLevel. So I'm the one who helps the experts in the field create those programs and have better learning experience for all of you. So today's agenda is quite simple. We're going to talk to Anne. I have some questions prepared from all the questions that we submitted online. And then we are going to open up the floor so you can ask your questions in chat, or you can unmute yourselves. But before we start, be respectful in the chat. You can message any questions if you have or any insights that you have, but please don't spam it. And if you can, turn on your videos. We'd love to see the faces of everybody who's joining the call today. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, raise your hand so I can ask to unmute you, because otherwise you can't unmute yourself. With that, let me introduce you to Anne. Anne is born and raised in Nairobi, and she is a core product manager at Quora, which is a fintech startup. She's been in this space for about 4 years, more than 4 years. And to hear more about her journey, I'm going to introduce Anne. And my first question to you, Anne, is tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us an introduction.
Thank you so much, Ayush, for this platform, and hi, everyone. So my name is Anne Kamunyu, currently a co-product manager at Quora, where we kind of digitalize circles. So I believe outside Kenya, there are more of cooperatives. They're called cooperatives. So in Kenya, we get to digitalize them from the previous way of them being very, very manual. So for us, building a platform for them, for the core banking platform, for the circles members to actually even have an app for them. And finally, what we call like an open API, where these circles can integrate with banks or any other financial institution for their members to be able to transact as easy as possible. So joined Quora in 2021, December the 14th, almost an year next month at Quora. Previously, I started off at M-Kopa. So M-Kopa was more of, that's where I got to build my career, because I started off as a customer care representative, then got into basically the onboarding process at M-Kopa, where we were onboarding new members. Right now, I know most of you know M-Kopa. They are right now into the phone selling industry. And I was the team that started off the solar side and now getting into the phones and basically the whole transition. I started off as a customer care, I think, as I mentioned, back in 2015. I think that's where I kind of got into loving the product without even knowing, because that's where I got into to get into a project officer role. So what was I doing there? I was listening to what the tech team then, the product managers, the engineering, what they've built. Then I get to make that information in a way that the customer care team can be able to assimilate and be able to help customers who call the call center. So after that, got into a business analyst, but I'd say I didn't do a lot of business analyst role. I got into product management without knowing. I'd say it was more of baptism by fire, because no one at that point basically knew what the product was all about, because there was transition that was happening with the company then. So that's why I got into product management at Mkopa. Was able to build a couple of products before leaving, which I'm proud of, and they got to help me build a career up to where I'm at right now. So at Mkopa, it was more of, I'd say, incubation, and now getting into understanding product management. With what I mentioned, there's baptism by fire, doing it without knowing. Then, I was able to kind of get into the field, build a lot of networks with people who have done it, and they have experience, mentors, guys that I looked up to when I was at Mkopa. And yeah, that's why I'm at Quora right now, and looking forward to building features that generate revenue for the business, impact the customers that we get to deal with. So that means the circle administration and also the members of the circle.
Amazing. Thank you for the great introduction. I love that your journey started from working in customer success and then briefly doing business analysis, and then like now you're a product manager.
Yeah.
A lot of students had this question, and which like a lot of people just generally ask as well, like how to transition from a different industry into product management. So maybe they're working in either they're into design, or maybe they're into technology or softwares, or they're into the more customer facing roles such as yourself, or they're into banking. Yeah, so what would you say to those people who are considering a shift from a different role? So like, yeah, from a non-product focused role to a product focused role, what would you tell them?
Number one thing I think, and I wish I knew this way before, is you need to know that you'll be dealing with so many stakeholders. That's one thing that I didn't know then, that I've learned over time. So one, you need to know if you love product management, because it's dynamic. You'll deal with a lot of people. You'll get a lot of customer requests from left, right, and center. How do you prioritize them? How do you tell no to the CEO? Because I think on my introduction on the EntryLevel website, I mentioned that as a product manager, you're known to be a CEO of saying no, and you're saying no to people that will fire you. They may fire you if you say no. So you just need to know how to manage them, because at the end of the day, you can't build everything at the same time. You'll need to prioritize. You need to learn to say no and yes when needed, because not every time you just say no, because it will kind of build a negative image, especially with the stakeholders that you get to deal with. So I'd say first, love the product. You need to know you're dealing with so many stakeholders. Number three, you also need to be a lover of listening to the customer. So a customer can be a B2B product or a B2C. B2B meaning business to business, or B2C, business to customer. So you need to understand the product that you're building. Do you have the love of listening to these clients? Do you have the love of listening to these customers? Do you want to offer a solution to them? It might be a technical solution, or even just a process solution that they might need for them to feel that they're being listened to. So those are the key points I'd say that you would want. And the last thing, which is very, very key, you need to love to read. Not so many people love reading, but reading is very, very critical, because right now the world is really moving, especially in the tech industry. Things are moving every now and then. Every day we get new technology coming in. Just need to be up to speed, get the right people, people meaning network, and you'll be at a good place for you to transition. So
Awesome. I just made a couple of notes and I share that in the chat of what I heard from you, and everything makes sense. You need to know that you'll be talking to a lot of people and need to love talking to customers, and need to love the product as well.
yeah.
So building on that, I would like to know what's your day-to-day look like on your, or like day is very short. So maybe what an average week looks like for you in your role as a product manager.
So as a product manager, you'll have two phases into feature building. You'll have the product discovery session, you'll have the product development session. So it depends with the company that you're working for or you intend to work for, because we have, if it's an agile organization, there's the sprint ceremonies. You'll need to run product discovery where you are talking to the clients. What I mentioned, you need to listen to the customers for you to come up with solutions that work for them, not for you, solutions for them. So I'd say in a day-to-day, I'd say like in a week, it might depend if it's a product development week, which now I'm talking to the engineers, I'm talking to the Scrum master, I'm talking to the tech lead who is going to help me in scoping of these features, the tech team who will be able to kind of help me understand the product from a technical perspective. Yeah. So there's the product perspective and also there's the technical perspective. So you need to be able to understand that, because at the end of it all, what you'll be told by these engineers, that's what you'll be able to make it in a way that the stakeholders, that is the CEO, the COO, who are not as technical as the guys that you're dealing with, you'll be able to manage them. Tell them that the MVP, this is when a tentative deadline, this is when this product is gonna come out. So I'd say it depends with which phase you're in. So if it's the product discovery, you spend most of your time with the clients, getting to understand their issue and working very closely with the designer if there's that need. Right now, Kenya is also in that phase of accepting designers and researchers into the product management space. So you need to be able to distinguish, is it the product discovery session? Is it the product development phase? Or is it even the market launch week? Meaning, are you going live? Are you going commercial? Is it a pilot? How do you deal with the marketing team in terms of what you're launching, whether it's a pilot or even just a market launch? So I'd say the product management, it's more of a cycle. You never get to an end that say, hey, now it's done, because once you even get to launch the product, you need to go back to the user to get to understand what I've built for you. Is it working for you, or is it not working for you? Well, how can we make it better? So it's more of a circular motion that never comes to an end.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And maybe like at some points, product managers might be working on multiple features or different products as well. So it's like you might be in discovery phase for one feature and might be in the development phase, or like maybe just doing user testing on a different product. So
Absolutely.
I hope that answers most of the students' questions, because that was that question was asked a lot of times about switching careers and then what a day in the a life in the week looks like. Before I ask my next question, I would also invite everyone who's watching to ask questions to Anne. You can put it in the chat and I can ask them on your behalf. And or if you'd like to come up, just raise your hand, and in a few minutes I can unmute you and you can ask your questions. So Anne, you mentioned that some organizations use agile methodology as well in your previous answer. So that makes me think about Scrum and Scrum Masters, because some organizations also have that. So when someone is learning product management, how important is knowing about Scrum, and do sometimes product managers have to work as a Scrum Master as well, or how important is that information according to you?
According to my experience, it has really helped me. So I'd say it will be like an added badge on your CV if you can actually run a team or a squad using the agile process. So if the organization is an agile, you need to also understand, what does agile mean? What do the ceremonies mean? What does refinement mean? What does sprint planning, retro, what are all these things? You need to also be at a space that you understand. In case you do not, you might find a little bit of challenge, because during, or rather in an organization that's an agile platform, they'll come up and ask you, when do we intend to have like an MVP out? I mean, an MVP is more of a minimum viable product. Minimum viable product meaning yes, we want, for example, a phone. We want like an iPhone 14 out as of yesterday. How can we get iPhone 14 out for us to get to test, as for us to come back with feedback, then we can now do the market launch. So in an agile space, you need to know how these sprint ceremonies are run, because I've seen, if not, you might have like, you'll have kind of, you're rubbing shoulders with the wrong people, because you've not kind of managed stakeholders and also the engineers, because these engineers, they also need to be at a space that they understand what Scrum ceremonies are all about.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Anne, for clarifying that. And I was actually just recreating our like a product management course, and I was on the MVP module, and where this is a famous, I think, like an image out there where when you're building an MVP, what's the least you can do to get feedback from the market? And there's this image of if you're building a car, you won't just like build a tire and then the base and then the mirror, but you would instead like maybe start with the skateboard, then go to a cycle and then a motorbike and then a car. That's not like that just explains how in product management you would build the smallest possible function that like achieves something and then move on to the next. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm going to go to a couple of questions in the chat. So, Samit is asking, what technical knowledge does a product manager require, or what they should focus on when getting started? Or maybe I would say also like technical knowledge / hard skills. So there's soft skills which we require as like knowing how to talk to customers and managing like being better at communication and deciding. But what are some technical hard skills that we should?
The technical side of things, for me, I did not come from a technical background. Let me talk about my experience. I did not come from a technical background. I kind of grew into it. Yeah. So I'd say, first of all, I think there are those who say that until they become technical, that's when they can get into product management. It's not always the case. There are scenarios that you'll get to grow into it. Technical skills that you may need for you to get like the upper hand, even the competitive advantage out there, I'd say, is the roadmap preparation. So roadmap preparation is something very sensitive, especially for internal and external stakeholders. So there are scenarios that you'll be dealing with internal stakeholders. Maybe these are guys within your organization, or external, you're building a B2B product. You should be able to manage these guys. So product roadmap strategy, you need to come up with at a space that you're able to come up with 2023 strategy. Like right now, that's what I'm thinking of. And you need to support your strategy with data. You need to support for you to get that buy-in from the higher stakeholder management, because these are the guys that are going to generate, they're going to give you this money for you to build a feature that is going to return back money to the business. So I'd say strategy, product management. And one thing that I've seen most of the product managers struggle with is stakeholder management, which stakeholder management can be the engineers. The engineers are also your stakeholders. The CEO is also your stakeholder. Even that end consumer who's going to use your product is also your stakeholder. So you need to be at a space that you're able to manage these guys and not take it personal. They're asking because they want this product. There are those who get agitated when they're asked about timelines. You should not be angry or take it very personal that Ayush is coming at me. No, it's just they want to be able to manage themselves. Like, yes, tentatively answered 31st of December. This is when this is gonna. So in case you do not meet that, maybe by a week, they're already prepared. So I'd say those are the ones that I feel that the technical skills that you may need to have. So you don't need to be extremely technical. You can read a code, because I do. You can write a code, which is also an added advantage. But most of the times I wouldn't tell someone that they can't be a proper product manager because they do not know how to code.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne.
Yeah.
Before I move on to people who have want to ask questions by voice, uh, could you clarify the difference between a product manager, a product owner, and also a project manager? So like these three things are like sometimes people get confused between all three. So we already know what product manager is, but like if you can compare them to product owner and project manager, that would be very helpful.
Good. So a product manager is in charge of the roadmap, in charge of the, I'd say, revenue-driven strategy for the business. They're in charge of the vision, the product vision. They are in charge of the ideas, and they're in charge of market launch. They're in charge of deadlines. So the product manager is kind of, I'd say, as I mentioned, the CEO of this product. You're the CEO of products that you get to build. A product owner, on the other hand, they're supposed to help the product manager deliver the product or the vision of this company. So that's the difference between a product manager and a product owner. So the product owner will work very closely with the engineers. They will not do a lot of product discovery, but the product manager can be at a space that they do everything. But a product owner, they are dedicated to the engineers. They get to answer any questions that the engineers are asking during refinement, during UI, UX conversations, or even technical conversations with the engineers. And even, giving now the product manager, yes, we agreed on this date. Probably we have a bug that has come up that will delay delivery of a product. So the product owner works very closely with the product manager. The other one you mentioned is the project manager. So I'd say project manager is in charge of, I'd say, timelines. Yeah, they do not do any product research. They do not do any UI. They do not carry out product development. They don't go whipping the engineers. Then they just come and ask the product manager, the product owner, when we said we will meet the deadline, when do we intend to go live? For them, it's just kind of whipping people to do their job. Project manager, they kind of whip guys to do their jobs, but the product manager is more of, I'd say, strategy, roadmap, market launch, and all that. Product owner, they are working very closely with the engineers.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne. That helps clarify all of the things. And I think I'm going to ask James to unmute now if he wants to ask his question. And then someone asks about the recording. Yes, we will share the recording later on of this event. James, if you'd like to ask your questions, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Han. Yeah, this is James from the UK. So actually, the question I asked earlier was, what's the difference between a product manager and a project manager? Because here in the UK, I'm a project manager. I've done some certifications like the Prince 2 Foundation and Practitioner, PMP. But then again, I don't have the field experience. Not that I don't have it. Like I have the field experience in waterfall, traditional, but not in agile, because I'm trying to transition into IT project manager. So a friend of mine just introduced me to this, and I'm like, okay, no problem. Let me just learn, let me crack on and all. So I just want to, because it actually sounds like almost the same. It's like they do almost the same thing, the product manager and the project manager. So I'm just trying to know, like, what's the difference? Is it like the same thing? Because, the project manager, like, they just make sure they're like a servant leadership. They make sure they get everything done for the team, like make sure they remove obstacles, impediments, stuff like that. So is it like that for a product manager also? Yeah, like you said earlier, the project manager, they don't really do anything. Yeah, that's it. But the product manager, just like you said, they are not the one doing it. It's the engineers that does it. So is it like the same thing? So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, James. To answer your question, especially for the product manager, you'll find that most of the time they get to spend time with the end consumer of this product. That's what we call product research. You get to deal with the guys. You get to talk to them, understand their problem, and come up with solutions. So a project manager doesn't come up with solutions. As I mentioned, they kind of whip people to do their job, But a product manager, they get to understand this need that is out there or for the market niche, and they get to come up with ideas or solutions that will be available now to this consumer. So for an IT project manager, in some companies, and this is something I wanted to also mention, some companies, they don't understand the difference. And I've seen guys really struggle to get their stability into the market space. So for some companies, especially the ones that are not fintech, they get to make the project manager do the product management role. So you find that that's where the whole confusion comes in. But in a nutshell, a product manager, they kind of deal with the roadmap. They do a lot of research, come up with ideas that offer solutions at the end of the day. So for certifications, they really help. They kind of give you that upper hand. But I'd say, from my experience and the certifications that I've already done, especially from Product Focus, Coursera, Udemy, and many others, I'd say what you learn, especially in the product management space, what you see online and what you actually do, they're kind of different. And no one tells you about it until you get into it, where you're now dealing with different kinds of people. There's a stakeholder who just wants to be updated on a weekly basis. Some just want, let's work as we have coffee, and they just want to share an update. So I'd say project management, product management is kind of confused, especially for companies that are not fintech. For companies that are fintech, they actually understand that a product manager is in charge of, yes, the whole vision, the whole roadmap conversation, but for the project manager, they're kind of just whipping people to do their jobs and meeting deadlines. And the project managers, they're the guys that now the B2B or the B2C, depending on the client, they're the ones that will be asked. You said this was the date. When? Why are we not meeting? So I hope that answers your question, James.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne. And I think just to build on what the one part you said about product managers coming up with ideas and solutions, just to put it into context and give an example. Maybe let's imagine Airbnb, which everybody knows as a product. And a product manager at Airbnb might be the one who's coming up with new solutions for tourists or coming up with new ideas that they could do. So they launched Airbnb experiences where you can do that virtually during COVID. A project manager would not be able, have the role to come up with those ideas and manage it, but a product manager might get that idea from someone in the company or through research, and then they will be the one responsible for doing the research on that, testing it out, finding out the assumptions, and going through that whole product management process. While a project manager would, when they actually launch it, for example, project manager might just be responsible for making sure the tech team is working on schedule to deliver it, and even just making sure all the other things are in place. For example, regulatory approvals, or you would need people to offer those experiences online because it's a marketplace. So project manager might ensure everything is up to place. So just taking care of logistics. That's sort of my understanding from everything.
It is. Yeah, it is. And just to add on to that, is that project managers can give product managers ideas. So it's not that the product manager has to come up with them solely. They can do research, as Ayush has said. They can listen to internal stakeholders, and the project manager is also one of them. They can kind of give an idea, but it's up to the product manager to now get the win, I'd say, from the higher stakeholder managers, that yes, when we build this virtual Airbnb, it will bring us 50% or an increase in revenue, close to that. So that's just an example of how a project manager can even work very closely with a product manager.
Yep, awesome. So we do have a lot of questions, a lot of people who want to ask questions as well. I'm gonna quickly just skim through the questions in the chat and then go to people who have their hands raised. And we're gonna get away from questions which talk about differences between product project owners and operation managers. And there's a lot of information on Google, everybody. So
Yes.
just Google and find out what's the difference. I think there's one question which I can quickly answer is like, why do some software companies prefer technical product managers to generalized? I mean, that's just sort of because they're into the software field and they would prefer to have someone who understands how to code, how do APIs work, how do webhooks work. So they don't have to train them because their core product is a software product, not a service product, for example. And someone also asked about not being able to pay for a course on entry level. I think for that, you can just email our support email and they would be able to help you get into the program. Cool. Now I'm going to move on to Samit, who has his hand up for a while. So if you want to ask your question, Samit, I can ask to unmute you. Are you there? All right, no worries. I'm going to ask Suleiman if he wants to ask his question.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right, Suleiman here. So I've got a question. I heard you talking about a product owner being the one to remove impediments from the way for the software guys that will be working on whatever products you're trying to build, for instance. But to the best of my understanding, I believe if we have a product owner, the product owner is going to be in a team of is going to be in a Scrum team. I believe a Scrum Master is the one that's going to do that, removing impediments and making sure everybody's fine. Or am I wrong? Because this is what I understand from what I learned about a Scrum Master being a part of a Scrum team. The Scrum Master gets to do the bit of taking care of impediments and making sure everybody's fine, where the product owner is the person behind the idea of the product they're trying to build. So I had somebody saying this the other time, and I don't know. I would just want to be clear whether what I'm saying is right or what I'm saying is wrong.
Thanks, Lehman. So I'd say that differs. Yes, there are those companies that embed the Scrum Master to also be a product owner. But ideally, the truth is the product owner is the one who works very closely with the product manager. So the product manager comes up with this idea and it's owned by the stakeholder. So the product owner now picks that up and specs that out in terms of if it's user stories, wireframes that will be helpful for the engineers to actually understand what we are building. And for the product owner, they'll be at a better space explaining to the technical team why we are building this feature. A Scrum Master, to be honest, they'll only, talk about how much effort is this, how long will this take for us to deliver. But a product owner, they'll be at a better space to explain, we are building this for us to get a revenue of, X amount as a business, because that's what has been injected from the product manager to the product owner. The Scrum Master may not be at a space that they understand the consumer. Remember, at the end of the day, we are building features that will be consumed by either the business or the customer. So we need someone who actually understands even the business rules. What are the edge cases that need to be captured? So the Scrum Master helps the product owner get a win in this. And this I mean by the feature that we are building. So the Scrum Master, from my experience, they tend to not understand the business side of things. They understand maybe from the technical side, but they are at a space that they're able to tell, yes, this is a 5, for example, and it might take 2 sprints meaning 4 weeks. Yeah. For me, that has been my experience, and it has brought a lot of light in just understanding the product management process.
Awesome. And I think one key thing to understand is that, all of these are like, even though they've been around for a while, but like everything has become so trendy now, like Scrum Master and like Agile, like buzzwords. And in some startups, like for example, at EntryLevel, we don't have a Scrum Master, but we have a product manager, which usually does the job of, he works with the developers to manage, he's the Scrum Master or he's the product owner, like he does everything. In big companies, you might have like people for different parts of the role, but in young startups, one person does everything. And sometimes there's no product managers. The CEO is the product manager. And
Yes, true. Yeah, most of the times the CEO just sleeps and wakes up. They have an idea, they come sell it to you. You need to make sure that that dream comes true. So most of those are some of the challenges that you get to meet on our day-to-day as product managers.
Exactly. All right. Before I move on to some other people, I have a questions which someone asked in the chat, and then a lot of people also submitted, which is around job search. So when someone starts was trying to get into product management and is new in the field, maybe they have experience in other industries, or maybe they just graduated from let's say uni, and they have done a course online on product management, they have a certificate. It's still really hard these days to like find a job, and especially product management, it comes with, because it's usually not an entry-level job at most companies. They require some sort of experience either in the industry or like in a different role as you moved in from one to another. What would your advice be for someone who wants to get started? So what could they do? How can they maybe get an internship? Or like what are some tips or advice that would you have for someone who wants to launch their career into product management?
Good. Yeah, I think I've had that even with the guys that I get to mentor, even at ADP List. So, and right now everyone wants to get into product management. It seems to be the newest baby in town. But in terms of getting into internship, one thing that I have seen work for me is just being persistent. And that means make sure that your LinkedIn shows that you have all these experiences that product managers need, minimum viable credentials or standards for you to be a product manager. And number two, as I mentioned, LinkedIn has to be updated. Your CV needs to show that you're actually doing something towards getting there if you've not really gotten even the internship. Number three, you'll get these opportunities on LinkedIn. LinkedIn nowadays, guys don't have to go drop a CV somewhere for them to get a job. Like on LinkedIn, people are looking for product managers. So this is something that I always tell people, if you see like there's a product manager role, why don't you look for the person who's recruiting the product management docket in that company? DM them, just ask them, do you have like a role that I can start up with? That's you taking the initiative to not wait for this job to find you, but you are actually looking for that job. So for me, that has been one of the skills that I'd say has helped. And number two, make sure that you have a network of guys that are in the same industry as you. So I can't be a product manager and quote unquote hanging out with salespeople. There's no way I'll get the newest trends in product management. There's no way I'll get the newest jobs or the newest technology skills that I need to upskill myself with. So I'd say make sure that you're in product, you want to get into product management, be at a space that you are ready for it. And ready for it, you are poking the right people. You're having you're reading a lot, as I mentioned, and make sure that you're ready for the job. Trust me, it will absolutely come, but make sure you poke the right people, and the right people, most of the times you'll find them on LinkedIn, honestly.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And for people who want to learn how to use LinkedIn better, we conducted a workshop last month on using LinkedIn, which we'll do again maybe next year. So check that out. LinkedIn can unlock a lot of opportunities. Yeah. And I mean, to give you example, I reached out to Anne on LinkedIn and for this event. So yeah, LinkedIn definitely helps with making better connections, and which can eventually maybe help you with finding a new job. Thanks,
Exactly.
Anne. I think Sumit is
Hi.
you know,
So
ask your
hi Anne. So I was actually thinking that if for moving into a product manager role, or does it really require spending time on gaining knowledge first and then moving on to this role?
I think you kind of broke the first 2 seconds, but let me just rephrase what I understand your question is for me to be a proper product manager, do I concentrate on understanding the context or getting into the job? Did I get your question right?
Yeah. So if I have recently moved into a Scrum Master role, my experience, whatever I learned as a Scrum Master, will that be useful to move into a product manager role?
Tick. Absolutely. That will actually help you when you're looking for this job as a product manager. Why? Because you've worked very closely with a product manager, you've worked with a tech team, an engineering team, and you're able to manage them. Because the number one thing that we need to know as a product manager, I mentioned the stakeholder management. And for you as a Scrum Master, you've already gotten that skill of managing the technical team. And these are the guys that are going to build this feature. And this feature is what we need to take it out for us to make money. So I'd say once you're a Scrum Master, it's already an added advantage for you once you're getting into the product management space, because you already understand what, first of all, you understand what a minimum viable product is. You understand if it's documentation for the technical team, you understand what the product manager needs for them to be successful and building these features. And you're able to basically, now something that you need maybe to work on, if you've not, it's to understand the business need. Why are we building this feature? What issue are we offering? Or which technical solution are we offering by building this feature? And now all this, making sure that data supports, in terms of the feature that you're building. You can never go wrong with numbers. Numbers never lie. So once you get to understand that numbers never lie, trust me, you've gotten the Scrum Master. You have the Scrum Master hat. Product management will be easy for you as you transition.
Yeah, but does it also require cost and budgeting knowledge? Because I'm not involved in looking into the budgets of the project, etc.
For me, right now, I'm still also getting good at budgeting right now. So I'd say it's something that you get to learn as you go. It's not something that we can say that without this, you cannot. One thing that might be very, very helpful is for you to interpret data. Interpretation of data, saying that this is where the drop-off is. This is the number of guys that were able to log into my app, and they did not proceed beyond this step. Why? Is it that the process is cumbersome for the user? No, this is where now you go back to the users to basically understand why are they dropping off. So I'd say interpretation of data is something very critical. And once you get that right, budgeting will automatically be followed after that. It will be easy.
Okay. That's great.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks so much for your questions. I'm going to move on to Alice. If you want to ask your questions, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm just calling from, I'm from London, actually. I just wanted to ask Anne, I think it was actually a few minutes ago, she was actually giving a little bit overall the technical skill of product manager, and she mentioned the roadmap preparation, and I was wondering if it would be possible for you to kind of like elaborate a little bit for me. And another question is, because I am someone who come from I'm currently working in fashion and buying, and I'm trying to kind of like change my career path. And product management is something that really, really interests me a lot. I get really excited. I've been learning quite a lot. And I was wondering if there's any way, any website to kind of like learn more about the tech industry, because I know a lot about fashion industry. I can just tap anywhere, not the biggest website, and to do my research. It's, to know, having to raise awareness of the product knowledge. And so I can actually, apply that to my customers. So I just wanted to know if you can give me some tips on that, because I'm currently doing the level 1 entry level in management. Yeah, thank you.
Good. I'll start with the second question. The second question you're asking about where do you get all these skills or information. So I'd say entry level, perfect start. Number two, you can go to product school website. That has been very, very instrumental in me understanding what product management is. So product school, product focus, and Udemy and Coursera, those are 5 platforms that would really help. And the last 2, Udemy and Coursera, you'll even have certifications, maybe $10 in product management, $12. So there you'll get as much information as you can. Product school stands out to be the number 1 for me, because they don't sugarcoat, and they're very clear. Like, this is process 1, process 2, process 3, and for you to get to the end goal, this is how you need to do it. So that's it for the roadmap. So for what I mean by a roadmap is, by end of 2022, by the time we were starting 2021 January as Quora, where did we want to be by the time we're getting into 2022 December? So that's for me to come up with features or ideas that will help us as a business get to achieve our goal. Because at the end of the day, we are not here to, get, yes, we want to be paid, but as a business, they also want to generate revenue. And for them to generate revenue, we need to build features that, take us to that direction. So the roadmap is basically showing, for us to get to maybe this amount of money as revenue, this is what we need to build. Maybe increase the number of users that log into our app and transact, for example. So those are some of it's basically a breakdown of features or enhancements or epics. I call them epics or features that will help us get into achieving our goal as a business. So it will depend with the company goal. So if the company, maybe it's a startup and they just want to kick off, so you need to ask yourself as a product manager, how will I help, for example, Quora get into just the starting motion? So basically you come up with processes or things that will help Quora get into that space. So, and then you get to present that to the stakeholders. I think Ayush mentioned most of the startups, the CEO is the start and the end. So you need to present that to them. And using data, you'll be at a place that you say, yes, once we do the first step, this is what we expect to win. We do the second step, this is what you get to win. And then with that, show the incremental, the increase in what you're trying to help the business achieve, basically. And the roadmap needs to be very, very strategic, because there are those scenarios, you'll go present a roadmap and they're like, no. We don't actually agree with that. And I still believe, the CEO says they still believe in their dream that they had yesterday. Let's build it right now. So make sure that your roadmap is very, very strategic, and it can be won by any person that just looks at it.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne. And just to add on the product roadmap, we don't have so for our product management course, if someone is doing it or considering doing it, we don't include roadmaps in the first course, because the first course is more of a beginner course focused just on the discovery side. And in the second course that we're currently building, we're going to talk more about wireframing, documentation, product strategy, and product roadmaps, and how to set objectives and metrics for your products. And we actually worked on the product roadmap module, where there's 3, I think one key thing was that I learned was there's to make a good roadmap, you will need to especially on the higher level, learn the 3 layers of a roadmap. The first one is the strategic roadmap, the initiatives, that the high level goals of the business that we want to achieve maybe this quarter. which then we talk about the product roadmap, which flows from the initiative. So maybe your initiative is to increase bookings by 10% for your mobile application. And then you talk about what products can come up from that. And then from the product roadmap, there's the feature roadmap. So what specific features you need to build, and different product managers can own different parts of that roadmap. And because it's company-wide thing. So if you are interested into learning more about product roadmaps, we will have that course ready next year in maybe 2 months, and I can assure it's very comprehensive. Awesome. I think maybe we have time for one last question for someone to ask. Coyote has his hand up, and let's see if we have time for another one, and then we can start wrapping up. Coyote, if you are still there.
Yes, I'm still here. Hello, Anne.
Hi,
Ayush. Hello, everyone. So my question is, in becoming a PM, right, is it essential to know about product-led growth, product marketing, and product design?
absolutely. It will really, really help you build features that, first of all, you'll be proud of, and two, they'll offer solutions. So, so product-led, yes, absolutely. Before, I think it has been the CEO saying that they want this, and it's built. So product-led growth, yes. And the other one you've mentioned is, remind me?
Product marketing and then product design.
Design is very, very critical, especially in the fintech industry. I'll go run a research, for example, and there's need for a design. I'll need to work very closely with the product designer. Right now, I have a product designer that you work very closely with. So this is the person that you'll kind of carry them like your handbag to any product research that you get to do, so that they can be able to understand the need that we are trying to offer to these guys. So this is the person that will come up, will understand not only from me telling them, but they can also see from a user's perspective, what do they need to do? So product research is very critical. Product design is very, very critical, because at the end of it all, you want guys to use this app. And for them to use this app, it has to be into the simplest way for them to navigate, as easy as possible. Because if you make an app that's complex for a user, trust me, no one will download. I'll use a very good example as when WhatsApp came. Honestly, it's a friend of mine who installed it for me. So if you build like an app that is very, very easy to use, first of all, you'll have dealt with a product designer. That's someone who they understand, yes, what they need is from a design perspective, but from a product perspective as well, they need to do that, so that when the product is maybe on a pilot or even on launch, these guys, they'll be at a place that they'll be the one selling this product for you. Like someone will download this feature for you. Booking.com, they'll do it like, hey, try this, because maybe there are those tokens that they get when they refer someone. But two, it's a product that they, first of all, are proud to use. Then someone else will be able to use it. Product marketing, yes, these are people that you get to work with, especially when you're launching a product. I advocate for when you're launching a product, especially if it's a huge product for the business, product marketing team will be very, very helpful, because they understand the corners of the market as far as that organization is concerned. For example, like for Quora, we understand we need to make sure that CEOs of these circles are aware, or the members of these circles are aware that we are launching a new app for them to be able to transact. So I'd say product management is a cycle, like it's a circular motion, honestly. And I said you deal with so many stakeholders, product marketing being one of them, and you working very closely with them, it will be even easy for you to try to be able to launch this product, whether it's a pilot or a market or a launch that you want to do for these features that you get to build.
All right. So the second leg of my question is there a direct correlation, right, between product marketing, product-led growth, and product roadmap and strategy?
Yes, It is related because remember, for you to have a roadmap, you need to have a product that you want to launch. Yeah. So, but by the time you're coming up with a roadmap, you need to come up with a product. And for you to get this product, this roadmap needs to support it. And once it's supported, once it's developed, will be at a space that we are able to launch. That's where now the product marketing team comes in. But again, you don't include the marketing team when you're almost going to launch. Make sure that they are included even during the speccing of this feature or even the development phase together with the Scrum Master, so that they are able to kind of manage themselves and be sure that this is the date, that tentative date that we want to launch this, and then they'll be able to come up with, marketing materials, information going out, whether it's social media or sending out emails or SMSs in whatever, or YouTube advertisements that we come up with. So it's more of they are all related, because you need to have a product-led, you need to have a product for you to have a roadmap, and for you to have the product launched, which deals with marketing.
All right, thank you so much. And yeah, for you, Ayush, like the PM module 2, is it going to encompass all what you just discussed?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
I think it's for Ayush. Yeah.
Hi Ayush. Yeah, the PM module 2, right? Is it going to encompass all what you just discussed, like product marketing, product-led growth, strategy, roadmap, everything?
Strategy, roadmap, everything, yes, but not product marketing and growth, because we have a different course called growth marketing, which includes all the things that, because growth in itself product marketing is a big field. It's huge, and there's a lot you can do in paid marketing, to like organic marketing, to even like analytics of those stuff as well, which brings in data. So we have a separate course for that, which you can check out. And but the next course will cover more in design, how to become a better, like understand design and create wireframes, how to create a product strategy, how to set objectives and metrics and OKRs for your product. We'll also talk about the pilot metrics, the acquisition, activation, retention, and referral, the metrics on that, which is what you learn in growth as well. So there's a little bit of growth that we talk about, but not in too much depth.
All right. Yeah. So the next question is, do you have visibility as to when next year the module is going to be released? Is it going to be in Q1 or Q2?
It will be in Q1. Yeah, it will be very soon. We'll probably in January or like end of Jan, it should be there.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Kayode.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anne.
We're over time, so thank you everybody for joining. Well, I'll start wrapping up now, and I know we had over 1,000 people sign up for this event, so, and the Zoom limit is 100, and there's like a lot of questions that were already there, and so many students had their hands up, but unfortunately we could not get to them. Yes, there will be a replay for those who were asking, and for Anne, last question would be, before I'm just going to start wrapping up, but last question is, if someone wants to reach out to you or connect with you, how can they do that? Where can they find you?
So I'm available on all social media platforms. Not on Snapchat though. On LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, Anne Kamunyo. You can find me on Instagram as Anne Kamunyo as well. And _ Kamunyo, you can find me on Facebook as Anne Kamunyo as well. So on all social media, feel free to chat me, and don't just say hi especially on LinkedIn. Just say hi, straight to the point. This is what you need. I'll be at a space to help and answer any questions.
Awesome. And you can even find her on ADP list too.
Yes, ADP list. Yes. Thank you, Ayush. Yes.
Yeah, and get a book a mentoring session. But if you do it, be prepared to ask good questions, because not questions that you can, questions that you actually like Anne can help with. Awesome, thanks, Anne. And just to wrap it up, if someone is considering a career in product management or want to learn more, you can check out our product management level 1 program, which talks about product management. We talk about the discovery section, product validation, using MVPs, prototypes, and the prioritization frameworks, and lastly working as a product manager. And our November cohort just started last week, so you can't sign up for that. But if you wait until starting on the January cohort, we are revamping the course and making more edits to the course, so you can get access to that as well, and it's going to be super exciting. And lastly, join us for more events. We have another event tomorrow, which is how to break into tech. So all the people who are thinking about getting a job in technology, we have my colleague Caleb will be hosting that event, and we'll have 3 more panelists who will be talking about their experience getting jobs into technology. And then if you are into design as well, or UX, so we have another event with Elizabeth next Wednesday. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to email us at support@entrylevel.net or reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or on my email, which is ayush@entrylevel.net. And Anne has put her LinkedIn in the chat. So if you want to connect, do it right now, but don't, and always add a note when you're connecting. Yeah, do not forget that.
Yes.
Thanks, man, and thanks everybody for joining, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Ayush.